So I've got kind of an unpopular opinion on slavery, and I think it's really important to explain the exception to the 13th Amendment to explain my unpopular opinion, and maybe it won't be as unpopular. Okay, so my hot take is that people love to say that slavery ended in 1865. I do not agree. I do not agree. Slavery still exists today. And I'll get you there. I'll get you there, girl. Okay, so listen. It changed form and it got legalized through the criminal justice system. And it starts with the Civil War. After the American Civil War, the 13th Amendment technically abolishes slavery, but it included one very specific exception. Go read it. Slavery is still legal as a punishment for a crime. And that one line is where everything starts, because right after that, Southern states created laws called black codes. They were laws designed to turn newly freed black people into criminals. And to enforce those laws, they actually expanded early policing systems that grew out of slave patrols in most Southern states. So slave patrols were groups of white men that were tasked with capturing escaped enslaved people and, enforcing control and punishment. So after slavery ended, those slave patrol systems didn't disappear. They evolved into what became modern policing. Yes, so we're getting there. So now you have laws and a system to enforce them, and those laws have made normal life illegal for certain individuals. You could be arrested for not having proof of a job, loitering, being outside after curfew, traveling without permission, not signing a labor contract with a white employer. Even things like insolence or disrespect towards a white person could get you arrested. They also had something that I feel like is worth mentioning. It was called pig laws, where like stealing small livestock like a pig was turned into a felony instead of what it originally was, which is like a minor offense, just so that they could increase the prison sentences. So imagine this. You're freed from slavery. You don't have a job yet and you're trying to figure your life out. You get arrested for not having a job. And now you're legally a criminal, and you get arrested and they fine you, but most people couldn't pay the fines, right? So the state would lease you out to private companies, forcing you to work without pay. So there's a real case of a man named Green Cottonham who was arrested for vagrancy, so not having a job. He was sold to a coal mine and he died 5 months later. And it didn't stop there. Places like Angola prison were literally built on former plantations. They forced the prisoners to pick cotton on the same land, doing the same labor, just under a different name. There was also peonage, basically like debt slavery, very similar to indentured servitude. You would basically be arrested or fined and agree to work it off. So you were trapped, sometimes for years, for life. So when people say that slavery ended, what they really mean is that slavery stopped being called slavery, because the systems didn't disappear. It adapted, it got legalized, and it moved into the prison system. So that same loophole exists today. The 13th Amendment never fully banned forced labor. It's legal if you've been convicted of a crime. So today, incarcerated people can still be required to work for little to no pay. They make them work in the prisons, agricultural fields, manufacturing, even for some private companies in some cases. And if they refuse, they can be punished. Solitary confinement, loss of privileges, extended sentences. So legally, that exception is still being used. And if the system doesn't impact everyone equally, what do you think that means? After slavery, laws were written to criminalize black people. And that pattern didn't just disappear. Over time, like the policies like the war on drugs, mandatory minimum sentencing, aggressive policing in certain communities have disproportionately targeted black Americans. Even though that there is literally studies that show almost identical rates of drug use across all races, black people are far more likely to be arrested, charged, and incarcerated. So when you connect it all, you have a system that allows forced labor for prisoners, combined with the same system that disproportionately sends black people to prison. Are we seeing the pattern?